What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. If you don't already know, this is my wife, Molly, and we figured why not just have her sit in on the Q&As and help ask and answer questions. So here we go.
Our first question this week comes from Destin Holden, who asks, how did the Jedi know about the Rule of Two if it was supposed to be a secret?
So we don't have a super firm answer on this, but Pablo Hidalgo has tweeted out and said that somehow the Jedi 1,000 years before the Clone Wars caught word of two Sith that had survived the Jedi-Sith War, and apparently they had this Rule of Two, so they heard rumors of it, but what I imagine they didn't know was that the Sith were going to be working in secret. That was something they never did before, and they probably assumed that these two Sith would be openly attacking, and that just didn't happen for 1,000 years. So the Jedi just wrongly assumed that the Sith were completely extinct.
Our second question comes from Sebastian Lamoro, who wants to know your guesses for the plot of Battlefront II now that you've read Inferno Squad.
Okay, so I will be talking about spoilers from the book. If you haven't read it yet, or if you want to avoid those spoilers, just jump ahead to the next question. I'll put up the time code. But I think that it's possible Del Meeko might defect. He got pretty friendly with the partisans, especially near the end of the book. He was kind of broken up that they had killed all of them. And that could be seen as foreshadowing that he might betray Iden and Gideon. Iden did show some mercy and some remorse in the book, but I still think she is very much set in her ways. And I think that would be a very interesting thing if one of their squad betrayed them. Outside of that, I can't really think of much foreshadowing for the actual plot. I can think of a couple Easter eggs here and there, like maybe some references to Sane, their fallen squad member, but for the plot, I think that's really all I've got.
Bradford Amsler asks if you would like to see Legend stories continue.
I am definitely not opposed to it. I just don't think it'll ever happen. But if, for whatever reason, Lucasfilm decided to continue some Legend stories, I would absolutely cover it on the channel. I just think that would make some unnecessary confusion for more casual fans who already don't really get what's Legends or canon means, and it's just going to muddy the waters. So I think Lucasfilm would be more likely to avoid that. So if Legends were to continue, I think it would just have to be in the hands of the fans and fan fiction.
Ben Stoneman wants to know how the Crystal Skull and the Ark of the Covenant fit into canon.
I am a massive Indiana Jones fan as well as Star Wars, so I saw this question and really wanted to cover it. The Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Staff of Ra, and the Crystal Skull all appear in like the Clone Wars or Rebels, so technically they're canon. Now they're all just Easter eggs, so we don't really know anything about any of them, but the Crystal Skull I could see just being a skull of some species we haven't seen yet that happens to have like a crystal skeleton structure. The Ark is actually a Twi'lek version of the Ark of the Covenant, so instead of angels, it's just Twi'leks on the top. So that has origins on Ryloth, but that's about all we know. The Holy Grail is just a cup. It could have come from anywhere. We don't know. And the Staff of Ra was in a Clone Wars episode where it was just the staff of a senator. But I think those are all of the major Indiana Jones Easter eggs in the Clone Wars and Rebels, and I love all of them.
Michael Sweat asks what our plans are for DragonCon.
Thank you for asking that, Michael. I was actually going to plug DragonCon in this video, but you made it very easy for me. DragonCon is in only 4 weeks. It is like our favorite time of the year, and there is a lot to do for Star Wars fans. So I'm going to be on between 1 and 4 panels, depending on scheduling. I don't know yet. I will update everyone whenever I know the final schedule, but I'll be doing meetups after every panel. That'll make things easy. And then, we'll be on Twitter constantly, just walking around on the floor. So if you see us, come say hey. I always look forward to the trivia contest. I mean, that is part of the reason I started this channel in the first place. One of these years, I'm going to win it. And I am hoping to interview quite a few Star Wars authors this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. What are you looking forward to?
I mean, it's one of, if not the biggest convention for cosplay, so there's always really amazing costumes to see. They do a huge parade in downtown Atlanta that's awesome. Every year I try to do at least one really good cosplay. I'm not great, but I can pay other people to make me things.
She's being humble. She's great.
So this year I've got a pretty awesome Mara Jade cosplay that I'm putting together, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't know what Dragon Con is, it's like a fan-run convention. It's just a big party for 4 days. They call it Nerdy Gras. So we're going to be there just having a blast all weekend. If you're in the Atlanta area for Labor Day weekend, please come check it out because we'd love to see you. We'd love to say hey. But that's it.
Yep.
That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like audio commentaries from the films or monthly giveaways, and the combined donations really go a long way in supporting the channel.
On to YouTube questions. Satchapal asks why X, Y, and A-Wings don't go by their names in Arabesh.
Again, thank goodness for Pablo Hidalgo's Twitter, because there he's given us another answer. He's confirmed that Arabesh is not the only alphabet in the Star Wars universe. It just seems to be the most common ones. So it's kind of a cop-out answer, but that is why X, Y, and A, and B, and U all go by our alphabet and not Arabesh.
Star Commander wants to know how the Inquisitors could track the Rebels in Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels.
They basically could just sense their presence in the Force, and I imagine that a Jedi Knight, a Padawan who is continually growing stronger, and occasionally Ahsoka would all give off a pretty significant disturbance in the Force when they're all together, and the Inquisitors were able to sense and track that.
Edward Keane asks if the Jedi, Grey Jedi, and Sith codes are canon, and if you had to live by one, which would you choose?
The Jedi and the Sith codes are both canon. They have appeared in material, I think, in the Guardians of the Whills book, actually. And the Grey code is not. Grey Jedi are not a thing in the Star Wars canon right now. If they ever kind of go that direction, I think they'll probably call it something besides Grey Jedi. But anyway, the code is not canon. But if I had to choose one to live by, it would be Grey, because the Jedi are way too restrictive, but the Sith just winds up corrupting you and making you a horrible person. So I prefer that balance.
Yeah, makes sense. Between Two Lungs wants to know if the Mace Windu comic is the beginning of a Jedi of the Republic series of comics.
I think it probably is. I think that's what they're implying or maybe hoping to set up. Otherwise, they would just call it Mace Windu, like they have with the Darth Maul comic or Chewbacca or Princess Leia. But the fact that it has Jedi of the Republic as a subtitle makes me think that if it does well, they're going to continue exploring the Jedi of the Republic. And I think that's a great idea. I want to get more prequel-era content. I really like your idea of exploring Plo Koon's story and how he discovered Ahsoka, because that's something that, we know the basics of that story, but I'd really like to see it told in an official capacity.
iOS Productions 256 asks if Earth will ever appear in Star Wars.
I hope it doesn't. I just don't want to see it. I mean, it wouldn't ruin Star Wars for me or anything, but it's set in a galaxy far, far away, and I think it's just totally unnecessary to show us Earth. It's supposed to be an escapist fantasy. I mean, I see Earth every day. I don't need to see it in Star Wars too.
So tired of Earth.
Stupid Earth. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video for either of us or both of us, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. I also do a Q&A every Friday on my Anchor station, and I just take call-ins. I play those questions on the air, and then I answer them live, so you can see that in the description as well. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Biggs, were you snoring? Were you snoring the entire time?
Yeah, he was.
Did you snore through that video?